Hello, everyone. Hey, Rohan, Jared, Brendon. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
We're good.
It's good morning in San Francisco.
Happy Friday.
I think we're across most time zones here. I'm Central, Jared's Eastern, Rohan, Brendon, you guys are Pacific. So good stuff. Yeah. Well, yeah, it looks like we've got some good attendees here. So let's jump in. So welcome to our webinar, Relationship-Led Growth and Leveraging Your Network to Drive Pipeline. I'm your host, Pete Ryan, co-founder at HiFive. And so, today we're going to be talking a lot about kind of just the rapidly changing business landscape. I think for most of us, including myself, I think, we have our heads spinning, right, around like the thought of, okay, what does the next 5 years look like? And, how is AI and other technologies going to impact the next 5 years? And so I think, one thing, most of us can agree on, however, is that, building and nurturing authentic relationships is really at the heart of sustainable growth, and it really can't be replaced with AI. I think we could probably argue that, it can be enhanced with AI, but it can't be replaced with AI. And so I'm certainly thrilled to embark on this conversation with three thought leaders in this category. And I can't wait to talk about, just meaningful connections and how these connections can be harnessed to fuel your sales pipeline. And so, thanks for joining us as we dive into some strategies and success stories that really demonstrate how cultivating relationships can really be one of your most potent assets in driving revenue and achieving long-term success as a startup or as a company. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our three panelists. Actually, I'll let them introduce themselves. And so if you guys would mind just stating your name, your company, your title, and then just kind of a fun icebreaker question, something about you that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Jared, lead us off.
I'll start. I'm Jared. I'm co-founder of RevGenius. I am the East Coast time zone here. I'm closest to 5 p.m. on Friday, so that's kind of cool. Something about me, not on my LinkedIn profile. I am such an open book, and at one point in time, this would have been that I ran a fashion magazine. I think that's on my LinkedIn profile now. I won Fashion Film Awards. That, unfortunately, for this question, is on my LinkedIn profile. But something that is not on my LinkedIn profile, I am the dog dad to Stevie Nicks, who's a cockapoo. That's about 12 to 14 pounds, depending on the day. And I live in Brooklyn, New York.
Do you love Stevie Nicks?
So my partner loves Stevie Nicks.
I love Stevie.
Oh yeah, but she's like, like her last birthday, I bought her Stevie. Like I want to throw in a couple extra gifts just to be a sweet partner, and the Stevie Nicks gifts were a hit. Yeah,
it's great.
Love it. All right, Brendon. Let's.
And her best dog friend is Sharon Stone, FYI.
They meet up often, Stevie Nicks and Sharon Stone.
It's the only other dog like that we have dog dates with on Earth, and the moms are best friends in real life, so it makes things easier.
Fun, good deal.
So Brendon Cassidy, co-founder of HiFive. Is this just the one, no bio or anything, or do you want to just go straight to the thing not on my LinkedIn profile?
Oh, it's however you want to run it, Brendon.
I'll follow Jared's lead. Go right to the thing not on my LinkedIn profile. So I'll go to an old standby, but you may as well go to what works. But so a little known thing not on my LinkedIn profile is I played football in high school against Tom Brady.
The Tom Brady.
What's that?
The Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady. Patriots, Buccaneers, all that. and we beat him and handed him the worst loss of his entire football career. So that's my little known fact, not on my LinkedIn profile, but yeah.
Was he good yet?
Yes, but his team wasn't very good, and we were very good. So, I've told that to every prospect for 20 years who had any relationship to like the Northeast United States, New England area. And so it's worked. It's a batting 1,000 on that one. So
What's the close percentage? Yeah. Delta increase.
Close percentage or, relationship build high. Yeah, for sure. But that's it. Rohan.
Cool. Hey, everyone. My name is Rohan Punamia. I'm the co-founder of Bluebirds. One thing that's not on my LinkedIn profile, I live in SF, and I'm a big coffee and breakfast burrito fanatic. So I've tried them all. If you need to know where do you get the best coffee, a lot of opinions on that. Where do you get the best breakfast burritos? Also depends on neighborhood, and have a lot of opinions on that. So hit me up, and I can get you to the right place.
Yeah. What is, just by the way, what's number one? Just quickly, for my own education.
For coffee, I think St. Frank and Coffee Movement are the two that are like a cut above everything else. For breakfast burritos, a place called Breakfast Little. It's a taqueria in the Mission that only does breakfast burritos, and they're phenomenal. And Jared, actually, my last company that I was building was a resale fashion company, so also came from more of the fashion world before this venture.
Which company?
Never got off the ground, so you've never heard of it.
Okay, got it.
I tried a lot of things in that space.
I'll give a little context as to why I'm here. I launched a community of 40,000 revenue professionals as well, and we're going to be talking. I was just thinking, like, nice little lead in.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll keep things going. I'm Pete Ryan, co-founder at HiFive. Yeah, a little known fact that's not on my LinkedIn profile is I had a baby about a year ago today. His birthday is tomorrow. His name is Pearson. Yeah, Brendon likes to joke that it's kind of like his name is like the Ivy League version of Pete. So we have really high aspirations for this guy. But yeah, it's been a joy, right? Working on a startup, and then also like raising a human, which is kind of like a startup, right? Lots of learnings and twists and turns and so on and so forth. But yeah, I appreciate all the advice, Brendon, you've shared with me over the last year or so. So thanks, man. All right, so let's jump into it. So I think most of us have all heard terms like product-led growth, partner-led growth, sales-led growth, marketing-led growth, and so now let's talk about relationship-led growth, which is really leveraging the people you know and trust, like your ex-colleagues, your internal execs, your investors, advisors, partners, customers, to reach target buyers. And this kind of overall strategy also includes keeping tabs on like job changes among people that or are trying to build a relationship with, as well as participating and building communities to build and foster these relationships. And so really relationship-led growth encompasses a lot of these strategies. So really I'd like to open up the conversation and just talk about the importance of RLG and why introductions and referrals are kind of more important today than just a couple of years ago.
Who do you want to lead off there?
Brendon.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, relationship-led growth. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So I've been working with startups since 2003, believe it or not. And referrals, relationships have been sort of foundational in everything I've done, from finding jobs and opportunities in my own career, helping others in their career, getting into customers and deals. It's just always your best foot forward in really anything you're going to do. If it's through a relationship, or you have somebody sort of vouching for you that has some credibility with the customer or the hiring manager or whatever the scenario is. And so I was an early employee at LinkedIn. I was like the 14th employee, and I built, first really go to market side and built what is corporate solutions. I'm not even sure what they call it today, but And so I always felt like LinkedIn, I was a big believer in relationships. Sort of LinkedIn kind of moved away, right, from sort of relationship capital and referrals and intros. And so I always sort of had it in the back of my mind that that's something that a problem I want to solve. And so we're now here where, the way that we go to market is as tough as it's ever been, right? Like cold calling, email threading, right? Just not working for the vast majority of people. And so, relationship-led growth is finding the people around us that we have a relationship with that have some vested interest in our success, and letting them help us, whether that is selling or hiring or whatever the scenario is. That's generally what I'd call it.
Yep. Jared, Rohan?
I'll take it next. I think relationship-led growth has always been super important. In some industries, more so than others. Like there's been relationship organizations for independent lawyer, like Latip and stuff. Like since I first went into business, which unfortunately I don't want to admit anymore, the year. In software sales, I think the reason why the importance is magnifying now is as the amount of SaaS companies that's launched every year seemingly 10x's. The old tactics and strategies to just send cold emails, to just send just cold call, aren't as effective. And frankly, outbound as a whole is broken. So people are thinking about their relationships. We just spoke about LinkedIn and building brands. Personal brands is part of that, and audiences around that. What gets even more involved is talking to the people in the audience and becoming actual friends or connections, and that certainly trickles down to the community level. But relationship-led growth has always been important. It's just that people were able to hit their numbers without it in the past, and now it's become critical, a critical portion of go-to-market to the point, we're talking about relationship-led growth here. We also have like go-to-network, terminology and verbiage coming out as well. Like people are talking about it at all angles because it is that important. It's that potent. It's that important because it's that potent. It's the most potent thing out there.
And yet still quite a few dogmatic voices out there saying it's not important.
It's been important more important since we realized how important it was. It's like a core of our being.
It is. Now it's obviously Rohan needs to be next, but I think it's went from like a concept generally people agreed about a couple of years ago to now we're like people are like, how do we like really embed this in how we go to market now, right? Like seriously, and start allocating prioritization and money to this and away from other things. I think that's it's any nascent space, right? You're always like, I think we're right about this, and other people seem to think we're right about this, but there's this period between, right, where like you think you're right, but you're not sure, right? And ultimately at the other end of that, right, there will be an answer. And I think we're getting the answer now, which is good because it's better to be right than wrong, obviously. So Rohan, let's go. You're up.
Plus one X LinkedIn, by the way. We're all we got 3X LinkedIn this year. Myself.
We got
I met all my friends to LinkedIn.
It alums. That says something, I think. So
yeah.
I'm here because of engagement.
Plus one to what everyone said. I won't belabor it, but I think what's changed is like the volume of cold emails sent over COVID, the number of cold calls happening to people's mobile phones, like now with AI tools, like the amount of automated prospecting that's happening. Jared, I think was spot on. Like everything, you could just get away doing the other things. And now it's all saturating. And so there's kind of going back to the fundamentals, and that's relationship design as one big part of that.
Yep.
Yeah. And, just to build on this, like I posted today, last night I spoke to the CEO of a tech company, a profitable tech company, one of his clients. So let's put this in perspective. 2023, the economy is not great. Well, I'm sorry, the tech, certainly the world we live in isn't optimal. One of his big clients went from $6 million in tech spend last year to 4.5 this year, projecting to 3.5 next year. Okay. There's more companies coming into the space in the same time. Like, what would you're gonna cold call more? No, I just posted today, socializing the problem, why it's important, evangelizing that, and why it needs to be fixed by a group of people. Like it's all about like creating the movement.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's there's a math problem, right? And there's been a math problem, right? Where you have talked about it before, right? There's I'll go back to like, LinkedIn, right? Early days of LinkedIn. There weren't others. I can't name the number of other like up and coming SaaS companies at that time. I can do it on less than 10 fingers, right? Like now you have thousands upon thousands of companies and solutions and vendors. And really the number of buyers is kind of it's pretty finite, right? So you have one side, you have the same, really kind of same number of buyers, maybe a little bit more, but an exponential number of options. And all those options are in the same place where it's like, hey, nobody's knocking on our door. So we need to go knock on everybody else's door. And so, yeah, I think you've reached this point now where people are not going to I don't pick up cold calls. I don't, cold emails. Sorry, it's not going to happen. So anyways.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Ross. And so I think that, let's actually follow Ross's lead here. We know that the existing channels are they're dying, right? If we're being real. So what's a kind of tasteful way that a seller can, leverage relationships, leverage community, leverage job change information to kind of, engage that buyer? Like, what are some methods and strategies that you guys recommend? Tasteful method and strategies, the key word.
I'm happy to start on this. I think there's a couple different ways, right? There's founder-led sales, using your network, using investors, advisors, your current customers, past customers. They all have slightly different playbooks that make sense. Our product helps with finding your past customers when they change jobs. But I think when you're talking about intros to folks, there's a couple rules that I follow or try to stick to. One is, first of all, when I'm asking someone for an intro, and it's really important, I think, to be, as you said, tasteful about this and not come across as transactional. That's also very important for me in just building relationships with people. And so I think there's a couple things. Like, one is, when you're asking someone for an intro, I think of it as like I'm asking them for a favor. And I want to keep a mental note of like, okay, when's the last time I asked this person of something? Have we interacted between then? If it's like a really good friend, of course, there's so much foundational trust there that I don't have any issue asking them for things, and they know that. If it's someone that I haven't interacted with as much, I think it's a really delicate balance that's important to keep in mind. And make sure you're giving stuff in return and helping them with whatever they're trying to do. The second thing is, when I ask someone for an intro, I try to batch it. So the work to send one intro on your behalf is not that different to send 3 intros. This is really tactical. So if I'm asking someone for an intro, I might go through their network and see, hey, there's 3 other people you could connect me to that would mean a lot for our company. And usually it's not much more work for them. And then that way also I can kind of, again, help them with other things throughout the rest of the couple months or the year, and we don't have to keep bugging them for more intros. The third thing I do is sending a self-contained forwardable email. Our company was in Y Combinator before, and this is a big protocol that they were evangelists for, which is like, send someone an email that has all the information ready to go where they can just forward it along with one additional sentence of context. That's usually the easiest way for people to just like forward along an intro. And I certainly appreciate when people do that with me. So want to make it really easy on them. I don't want them to have to do any work beyond what's necessary. And then the fourth thing is, especially if you're a founder, more of a senior leader, I try to frame the messages as asking for feedback, because like nobody wants to pass along a message like, hey, do you want to buy my product? And it's very genuine. Like at at the stage of our company, most conversations are 90% helpful for feedback and getting a signal on what's important to folks. And of course, if it's useful and they want to buy it, that's a great second conversation we can have. But I think that's just generally like a way to align what I'm trying to get out of the conversation with like a very genuine, authentic intro that we're trying to make. So those are some of the steps that I try to stick to make sure that it's tasteful and it's not overly extracting from my network. And I think that goes hand in hand with contributing as well and making sure that you're supporting folks that you're connected to. But yeah, what do you think, Jared and Brendon?
I mean, I think I don't think tactically about it really. I'm in business to give as much as humanly possible, if I have an ask or not. It's not tit for tat. It's giving to give. When it feels like, and there's no ickier feeling than having somebody offer to do something for me, and I know I'm just waiting for the ask, and you could tell. And I'm not saying that this is what this, but like you could tell. It's like I'm not even going to accept that give because this conversation is about to get awkward. And I don't want to have something on that. So like I don't even start with that. Like I just give, and then if something happens or whatever, it feels super organic. Like and it's almost to the point of like people asking me like what. And I just had a call yesterday. At the end of the call went, "What are the top things?" Like they asked me, "What are the top things you're working on?" So like if I come across anything there, well, these are the two business models I'm focused on. Like these are my core thing. These are my company's core. I'm doing these two metrics myself. And having that relationship with people, and when I hop on a call with somebody without even knowing anything, I'll always ask, how can I best support you? I'll have zero idea if I could get anything from them. Like I probably can. But by having this like giving mentality, like we're just giving, like intros, whatever, when it comes to time to like ask for something, it just feels so organic. And I do think those tactics, Rohan, suggest work. I have lots of people sending me pre-created things to send to people. I personally don't always do that first. Like I'm more likely to do other things a bit more organic myself. Just because
like you're following the law of reciprocity, Jared. You
I just give. I know it's going to come
give.
in some way.
Yeah.
Like with RevGenius, I've committed 40,000 people that I'm just helping.
Yeah.
And inbound is flowing as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, Brendon. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it's, you see plenty of people out there that want something, and then they come to the conclusion that they've spent a lifetime in a career of giving nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And that, like, hey, like it's you have to, there's no gas in the tank, bro, right? Like, you didn't do anything, right? You didn't put in the work throughout your career, and you didn't earn the capital to ask. Right. So there is that aspect of reciprocity that I've always believed in, right? That you're in that, that you are, you're trying, not just, people come in and ask for help, but people in their career, right? People that have worked for me. I think I've had like 25 VPs of sales that worked for me at one point, right? That went on to become a VP of sales. So yeah, that is part of it. And really at the end of the day, that's not, for me, it's not, I'm not doing that so I can go claim, pick the crops later. I'm doing it because at the end of the day, that's how you'll look back on your career, right? It's like, what did I do for other people? How did I help other people? And then what did they do with it? Right? Did they, what did they do with that in their life and their career? I think from I think the question was, how do you ask for a referral, right? Or how do you tastefully ask for a referral? You do need, I think you have to have some, which we've learned, right? There has to be some sort of agreement before, right? Whatever that agreement is, right? That, like seeing a lot of companies have sort of advisory groups or advisory boards there's a level beyond that. But yeah, like it's tough to leverage relationship capital when you're like constantly doing a one-off of like, hey bro, can you help me? That kind of thing. There has to be some structure, right? You can't wonder if people will help you or have some sort of incentive to help you. You have to know. And so that's critical, and that's what we've learned, and that's where we're at now. That's how this space is evolving now.
Got it. And so I think what you're getting at, right, is giving equity, equity / paying for intros, right? Yeah, got it. And so let's just say you're an early stage startup.
I think, and more importantly than that, you can't over index, right? There absolutely is a fine line between people who can help and asking for too much help, right? Which we've also learned sometimes the hard way. But yeah, good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you. So you're an early stage startup, right? You're just getting going, and you're looking to kind of leverage this as a channel. And obviously, you said, Brendon, you building out that community is important, right? What are the steps that someone should take, right, around whether it be like engaging in RevGenius, right, building that community, or proactively reaching out to people in LinkedIn? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on the approach there? And I'll let Jared or Rohan take that one.
So can you repeat the question?
Yeah. The question is, what's the best way to go about, building a community, right, of people that, people around you that you can kind of tap into for favors. They can tap into you for favors, whether it be intros, and so forth.
I'm happy to take a stab at this.
Yeah.
Because I think, Jared, I think we'd probably have different approaches to this, although the same principle, because you actually have like the community as a thing that you do, right? Like, I'm not a very public person. You can totally post on LinkedIn, phenomenal place to post and get a lot of engagement, build a community. Lots of people in our space doing that. And I think it's great. It's just not me for right now. So the way that I interpret this is like, I just want to have great conversations with people. I love meeting people in person. I love catching up on what they're doing, just being genuinely curious about what they're working on and what they find interesting. And for me, like, I do that with a lot of the folks that whose relationships like I'm close with and that I'm connected to anytime I can, whether that's at a conference or just a one-on-one or whatever it might be. So my style of this, of like, I guess you can call it nurturing your network, but to me, it's just kind of like, I don't know. There's also this delicate balance of like kind of overly formalizing something when we talk about relationships, when I think it's just like being a good person and like catching up with people, seeing how they're doing. And I think if you do that, like, if that's the default of how I at least like treat my network, I know that like, if I need to ask for something at some point, like that's obvious, that's always something that folks are willing to do, but it's never like a tit for tat. And so I do think that your intentions, and as Jared said, like your authenticity of how you approach relationships comes across to people. And for me, I prefer to like more of this one-on-one interaction. But I'm really curious, Jared, to hear your thoughts. And I know that like there's a lot of success in doing this in a scaled way with a big community too.
Well, I'll talk about the not scaled way. Like what I've noticed myself doing of late is exchanging cell phone numbers with people, because when you're in a text message relationship or whatever, you treat them a little different, right? Like it's a little more of a respectful or like responsible space. So you're much more likely to err to not interrupting them and to be, but it also opens up this crazy connection like to the next level. So like I'll have a group of texts where I have like the four stooges. Two of them are like senior leaders. One is the COO of our company, and like we'll literally talk business or share LinkedIn posts and stuff like that. I'll have other things like getting to the text message relationships. Like there's actually somebody that's like a client that like we met in like a couple like happy hour like capacities that we became like friendlier with. Now that we're texting like, oh, did you see this or whatever, and having like a more friendly relationship, it creates like when you're dealing with a place of true friendship and stuff, you're going to treat people accordingly. And I think that's like an area that we need to get through, like in a professional way, of course. Some things I've seen people do that work, especially entrepreneurs. And frankly, I'm sure this would work with many people, but have a weekly group of a dozen or half a dozen people, or a regular cadence group that meet on Zoom, that do whatever, and like literally shoot the breeze on their challenges that others maybe have already gone through to help one another. And when you create this, and this is like a community, not at scale, like a personal community, right? Like of people in your role. It feels like you have a vested interest in their success. And it's like, oh man, you just started running paid ads. Like, here's what I've learned running paid ads, right? Like, is it cool if I share? Yes, please share. Please share. I want to know how to do that. I met somebody that could actually, it becomes a much more organic thing, is where I'm trying to get at. My 2 cents.
Yeah, and it just along that vein, right? Like, how do we balance like the personal nature of relationship building versus, hey, we have to start leveraging introductions, these types of things. Kind of where's the balance there, and how should a company be thinking about that? I'll let Brendon take that one.
Well, I mean, a referral or an introduction, it's a pretty complex transaction, right? It's a 3-stakeholder transaction. I want an intro. I want you to give me one. And then ultimately there's another person at the end of that, right? That would be accepting the intro or taking the intro. There's a lot of social, whatever you want to call it, social or personal / professional friction involved there. Much more than like, hey, fire off an email, right? Or fire off 1,000 emails, right? And so that's, I mean, obviously everybody has their own opinions about it, but if you want to really operationalize it, you can't be you can't be asking for favors every time. It's just the reality, right? It can't be a personal favor every time, because like Jared said, right? They're personal, right? They're personal, and there's reciprocity and all these other whatever terms you want to involve. And so like, that's why I just, and I've been doing this for 20 years, right? Intros, referrals, relationship capital. I've just sort of come to the conclusion, if you actually want to operationalize it, you have to have people that have already agreed to participate on some level. And not everybody does, by the way, and that's okay. But to think that it's this like, sort of community of, people holding hands and, hey, help me out, bud, I'll help you out, right? Like, you're backstopping $1 trillion industry that's cratering. It's collapsing. This entire outbound deck is collapsing and burning before our eyes. To think that that's just free and organic and all the rest, like, it's crazy. Like, the stakes are high. Like, it's time for, like, grown-ups. Let's go, Yeah.
I love that. I was talking to somebody about like leveraging their advisors for intros, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody who you've incentivized either a cash or equity way, no matter how much or how little, to do things. And even with this person that's incentivized, from an intro standpoint, he said a cold introduction is a value take. It's a value suck. Hoping and ask for somebody that's already in your pipeline that you already know, if they could talk to that person that you're already talking to speed up the pipeline.
Sure.
That's a value give, because that person comes in and is like, oh, Johnny, like his product's awesome. And it's like, oh, thank you. Like, he actually helped me make the decision faster.
It probably costs that person nothing to do it, right? And that's the
and
thing.
It's a value give. It's like,
right.
oh, thank you for helping me make this decision faster on this product versus this product.
Yep. And again, we've been doing this and we've stumbled on our face a bunch, by the way, trying to figure it out because it's a huge problem. It's also hard to solve. And we've sort of solved some stuff to this point. And so that's what we figured out is like, there's people out there that, if you just make them a partner and that's not free, and they can help you. And by the way, it costs, right? It costs them nothing. It's, hey, like Jared's doing this super cool thing at RevGenius. You should take a look. I really like what they're doing, right? That costs me nothing most of the time, right? Like that's not a big, and so as long as you're not over indexing that, and again, that is where there's this minutely thin line. As long as you're not over indexing that, it is magical. If you over index it, it goes bad. And so if you can strike that balance, that's the thing. This is relationship-led growth, and referrals is not the mass production business. This is not put it on the assembly line like you're going to do with Outreach or Sales Loft or whatever else, or load up, auto dialers or whatever. It's not. This is right. This is like measure twice, cut once, strategic, like actually strategic in how you go to market. And so that's where, it's a behavioral change, right? When you start saying, we really want to do this, but we can't do it in the assembly line, sort of mass replication way that we've sort of tried to do these other things. Most people get it, right? Like they want to do that generally. So.
Well, thank you guys. Sorry, we do have to wrap up. We're at time.
Okay.
I know, Jared, you were about
to say
something. It is. Yeah. So I think in closing, right, we can't overstate the significance of relationship-led growth and leveraging networks to drive pipeline. Rohan, I really loved your points around just the tactical points you made around like requesting intros. Jared, you certainly talked a lot about the law of reciprocity and the importance of just giving before you take. And then Brendon, I really liked your talk about kind of just creating frameworks around relationships, right? And meaning equity and referral partnerships, those types of things to incentivize connectors. And so we'll kind of close at that. We certainly we've seen how nurturing connections can unlock new opportunities, and excited to hear more from the audience and others about their success in doing the strategy. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.